Cheers, Dave. Thanks so much for those kind words. You guys enjoy supper? Yeah. Your yes means that you are enjoying it. But I want to ask you for your trust for a second. I want you to close your eyes. I know you're midway through eating, but you can still chew if you want. I want you to close your eyes. I want you to envisage yourself in your workplace's boardroom. If you don't have a boardroom, just picture yourself in front of this room. I want you to picture yourself the people that you're speaking to. Perhaps it's other business owners. Maybe it's members of your team. Maybe it's prospects or leads. I want you to envisage them making eye contact with you, and you're making eye contact with them. They're laughing at your jokes. They're smiling. They're nodding. And then you look at yourself, and you can see yourself presenting with confidence. You can see yourself smashing it out of the park. I want you to think about that picture when they start applauding you. And you know you've done a great job. What words come to your mind when you see yourself like this? You can open your eyes. Is anyone brave enough to share the one or few words that have come into their mind when they saw themselves like that? Great. Thank you, Colin. Yeah. Let's put this down here. Awesome. Did you say, can I write with an Australian accent?
Can you write with that same?
O-A-R, some?
W's maybe.
Or the awesome foursome. All right, what else? What other words? Yeah, okay. Sure. Yeah, so we took wow. Great. Yeah, nice. Relief. Perfect. Great. And one more word. Freedom. Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you. I like that. I want to write that there as well. Yeah. Thank you. Or I'm going to put thankful, actually. It's a good word. So, if you're presenting in front of people and you're talking, you're conversing with them, I have a belief that if you can have a conversation, you can deliver a presentation. And at the same time, you can feel awesome. You can feel wow. You feel a sense of relief. You can feel success, freedom, and thankful, grateful. I wasn't always so bright. I wasn't always so conversational. I remember when I was in year 4, 10 years old, I'm reading a piece of paper in front of the whole class. It's a story that I made up. I don't know what the story was, but I remember my body shaking. I remember my voice quivering. I didn't make eye contact, and I was absolutely scared. I remember sitting down and thinking to myself, I was so bad, so bad. And then Mr. Butcher, year 4 teacher, walks up to the room and he says, I think our students have done a great job. Caleb, what have you done? I saw that when you stood up, you were shaking, your voice was quivering, and you weren't filled with confidence. And I'm like, oh, thanks a lot. Thanks, Mr. Butcher. Thanks for letting me know that. But then as you read the story, I found that your legs were shaking less and less, and you were calmer and calmer with your voice, and your voice got louder and louder. And I had no idea that I was doing that. Mr. Butcher had let me know something that I didn't see in myself. He saw something that I didn't see in myself. Even after that point, I actually excelled at presentations at school. Even to the point of delivering presentations throughout my high school and then getting a job as a web developer. during one of those years, I was watching a TV show called Strictly Speaking. Has anyone heard of that TV show, by the way? Awesome. Not one. Oh, you have? That's a rarity.
Always go, yes, and you won't take any notice.
Exactly. Well, everyone else is saying no because it only ran for one season on the ABC. So that's why no one knows about it. Exactly. So popular. It was a TV show about public speaking. Of course it'd be popular. However, one of their recommendations was to go to Toastmasters. And so in 2013, I attended Toastmasters and I really enjoyed the club. But then one day, my boss at the time, John was the type of guy who was a genius at branding. Oh, it doesn't work. Doesn't matter. Don't need it. John is the type of guy who would be able to wow a room with his knowledge of creativity. But as a result, he had to present at a conference, a TED-like conference, and he was going to talk about creativity. But he had no idea what he was going to talk about. Dave? Don't worry about it. It's fine. Yeah, it's fine. He had no idea how to structure it. So I was able to help him structure his presentation. And as a result, on that day, his speech was well received out of everyone. It was probably the best presentation out of it. I was a web monkey for most of my life, but I thought, you know what? I think there's something in this. I think I can help people see what they might not see in themselves. To see that everyone who can deliver a conversation can also deliver a good presentation as well. And so I started the journey of transitioning from full-time web developer to someone who really just wants to eradicate death by PowerPoint in his lifetime. And so that's what brings me here today. It's what brings me here today in terms of helping you to become clear on how to become a better presenter. Now, some of you are thinking, I don't want to present. I don't want to stand in front of people. But you'll find that if you improve in your communication skills, even learn some tips about learning how to present, it can help you become a better listener. I know this because I'm married. And when wifey says she wants something fixed, she wants it fixed, but sometimes I need to figure out if she wants it fixed or if I just need to listen to her and let her share and let her have a shoulder or an ear. So what I want to do today is invite you into this process of learning how to put together a fantastic presentation. You might be on this side where you think, oh, I'm absolutely scared of presenting. Or you might be on this other side, that's John. You might be on the other side where you might feel, well, we need to shut you up, basically. So you either, where you are on the spectrum, I believe what you can learn today is going to be helpful for you to be able to put together a presentation. It will eradicate the fears of the stress of having to put a presentation together. It will help you be able to deliver with confidence and not get so stuck behind reading a script per se. So what I'm hoping today will be is very helpful for you as business leaders and business professionals. What I've got here is some worksheets. Now, I understand that you're reading at the moment, so it's okay, you don't have to fill it out. But this is like a template that you can fill out in your own time. But that will actually help you be able to put together a fantastic presentation. By the way, guys, if you have any questions about presentations or what I've spoken today, there will be a question time a little bit after as well. Cool. Okay. All right. Most of us got a piece of paper yet? Cool. think we have enough. Should have enough. All right. We all ready to go? Cool. Great. So there's 3 questions that you've got to ask yourself before you deliver any presentation. The first one is what's on the screen right now. What do you want them to know? What do you want your audience to know when you're delivering a presentation? It sounds very simple, doesn't it? But you'll be very surprised that when you're sitting in front of your computer and you're sitting in front of your PowerPoint and you think, oh, what am I going to put down? What am I going to put here? And you're sitting down, you're thinking to yourself, oh, I don't know what to say. So get clear on what you want your audience to know. Right. And it's made up of 3 main points, right? So your audience, your subject matter, and the result that you want them to achieve. So obviously you need to know who you're speaking to, what you're going to be speaking about, and what result you want them to achieve when they've actually applied what you have to share about. So let's say, for example, you're an entrepreneur. Your audiences are entrepreneurs, which is basically most people in this room. Your subject is about video marketing, but the result here for your audience is that you want them to boost their online presence, right? Let's take for another example. Business professionals, you want to learn how to structure presentations, and the result is you want to prepare and present with confidence, which is exactly what this presentation is about. So it's very simple. In one statement, in asking the question, what do I want my audience to know, it can be summed up in one sentence like this. So every can, so they can. So every audience member can achieve the subject matter so they can achieve their result. So in this instance, every entrepreneur can learn about video marketing so they can boost their online presence. Every business professional can learn about presentation structure so they can prepare and present with more confidence. So that is one sentence that you need to make clear when preparing your presentation. What do you want them to know? The second question, in that second box at the top, is what do you want them to do? Every presentation needs a call to action. So be very clear about what you want your audience to do. The third question is, how do you want them to feel? This is a question that we probably don't want to ask a lot, but it needs to be asked. Because if you can articulate that you want your audience to feel, feelings lead to emotions, and emotions will actually help people to move. It actually causes us to move to action. Logic doesn't. So we do this by incorporating stories into our presentations. But if you get clear on how you want your audience to feel after the presentation, it will give you a clue as to what type of stories you need to put into your presentation. In fact, if anything, some of the stories will be the opposite of how you want your audience to feel. In this instance, I want you to feel at least inspired and equipped to be able to deliver your next presentation. So those are the 3 questions. What do you want them to know? What do you want them to do? What do you want them to feel? Answer those 3 questions, and you're well along the way of preparing a presentation that's going to fire on all cylinders. Know, feel, and do. Okay, so once you've achieved that, here's a framework that I use in almost all of my presentations. It's called Mr. Gap. Mr. Gap has helped me get through sleepless nights of wondering what I'm going to say, wondering what I should say. It brings a structure to what you're going to be presenting on. So let's look at the first one. M. That's with me. What I want to do is start with a personal story. Now, I could start with, hi, my name is Caleb, I'm a presentation consultant, and that's all well and good, that's fine. But what if you started with a story? And a story can start with something like, I'm standing in front of a room, I'm year 4, and I've got a piece of paper in my hand. That's how a story can start. If you start with story, what happens is that the audience starts thinking about, where's this going? It starts engaging with the senses. You start painting a picture of what that story is about. What a story isn't, though, isn't an anecdote. It's like, it's good to be here. By the way, great parking here. And great parking reminds me of a great experience I had here. That's an anecdote. A story consists of 3 parts. It needs a setup or a scene, it needs a problem, and then it needs a conclusion. So see if you can incorporate a story at the start of your speech. I could start off saying something like, networking is important because it helps you to connect with a whole bunch of different people. Sometimes you want to find clients, but every now and again, you won't. But sometimes the people that won't lead you to the big fish. That's not a bad way to start. But here's a better way to start. It's 9:98, I'm at Mandurah Estuary. I get out of my car. My dad and I love going fishing. We step down onto the rocks and we are looking for herring. We cast out. As soon as the line comes out, it hits a seagull. By the way, this is a real story. It did happen. It catches onto a seagull. It lands into the water. We reel the seagull back, right? As soon as it gets closer to the rocks, Dad sees an octopus. An octopus comes out of nowhere. An octopus sees the seagull and grabs it. He then pulls that seagull's head down in the water, and Dad grabs the seagull's legs. We've got an epic tug of war. As soon as he's pulling up and down, and pop, seagull has grown by at least 5 centimeters. We unhook the seagull, we let it go, but octopus isn't done yet. He's getting mad. So he grabs Dad's legs with all his tentacles. And as a result, he says, "Caleb, get the knife!" So I'm like looking down, I'm looking at going back up to the bucket to grab the knife. And as soon as I get to the bucket, the octopus is gone. We turn up at our carport and Dad says, "We could have had an Oki for dinner." Now, people like myself will use everything in the ocean that it has to offer. But sometimes when you go to events, or sometimes when you go fishing, you want to catch fish, but sometimes you land up with seagulls, but then sometimes you end up with octopus. When you go to networking events, sometimes you find people who you can do business with, and you'll encounter some seagulls. But now, every now and again, you'll encounter a big fish, a big client, an octopus. Now, do you see the difference between the two? You start with story, add some intrigue, add some interest, add some engagement, and then you end up with your premise. The next thing we need to think about when you start with a personal story is it could be a problem. This could be a problem that's related that you've encountered, or maybe a problem that your client has encountered. So the next step you need to do is relate it back to the audience. If you can relate it back to your audience, you now make that problem relatable to your audience. And you can do this with you-centric statements like, you know you've been there, haven't you? When you've been to a networking meeting and all there seems to be is seagulls. Not at BusinessSJ. There's a lot of fish and octopus here. But you've been in those situations, haven't you? When you've stood in front of rooms and you're like, I don't know what to do. So you want to relate the story back to your audience. And this is the part of the speech where you make clear what you want your audiences to know. Remember that statement? About every entrepreneur, da-da-da. So this is where you want to introduce the part of the speech where you want to relate it back to the audience. The next section is the guide. Now, the guide is every movie you've watched, right, has a guiding character. Star Wars has Yoda. Wizard of Oz have 3, like the Tin Man, the Scarecrow. Forget the other one. Does anyone remember the other one? The Lion. So every movie you've watched has some sort of guiding character. You won't miss it now that I've said that. And so this is where you guide the audience into what you need them to do or what you want them to do, or what to do to fix the problem that they've encountered. Now, in many instances, you don't want to tell them how to do it because, first of all, we don't have time. But second of all, you might be giving away some secrets. So what you want to do is tell them what to do, not how to do it. This is where you go through, this part of the speech is about guiding them through how to fix the problem or what to do to fix the problem. The next part is application. What you want to do is, this is where you've answered the question, what do you want them to do? This is where you invite them to apply what you have offered to them. And the final part is picture. This is where you paint a picture of their future when they've applied what you've asked them to, when you've invited them to apply what you've offered to them. Imagine if you're standing up in front of a room and you're confident and you feel free, you feel a sense of relief, you feel bold, you feel wow, you feel awesome. That's where you can paint a picture of their future at this part of the speech. So I followed this order, mostly this order, and that's helped me structure a presentation that I know I can present with. Okay, so let me pause there. Does anyone have any questions about what I've taught today? We talked about know, feel, and do, and we've also talked about Mr. Gap.
I think the fishing story is great. It sort of resonates.
Absolutely.
I think that's why the stories are so powerful because you can, when you switch it over,
Yeah.
it's got a serious side. It's got a different connotation.
Chicken and fish, chicken and sandwiches. Yeah. Any other questions related to putting together a presentation?
You use very, very little PowerPoint.
Yep.
You just have a picture here and there.
Absolutely.
Do you find that works well?
I believe.
As opposed to the people who put 27,000 PowerPoint things up and stand there with the back to the audience and read it all.
Absolutely. I mean, back in the day when there wasn't PowerPoint, they had photo slideshows. So that was an effective way of presenting because you are the presentation, not the PowerPoint. Absolutely. Yeah. So I'm a huge fan of more pictures. And I want to say for Neil, I love the pictures. Especially, I had no idea there was technology where you could detect the moisture level of a wood. I mean, I could explain it, but the fact that I just saw it there was amazing. So well done on your pictures as well. Love that. Okay, cool. Does anyone want to share with you, with me, basically, what have they learnt today, and what are they going to do in the next month to apply to their presentations?
A lot of content out there on the old Google machine when you're trying to get yourself ready to present.
Yeah.
But it's just so simple.
Mm.
It's really something we can all, just relate back to our personal stories.
Mm.
And yeah, it's just a simple format to follow.
Yeah, thanks.
Right.
Yeah, cheers.
That sometimes the simple stories relating back to ourselves is actually hard to find. Like they're there, they're probably right in front of your nose, but it's hard to find.
Sometimes it's what I find helpful to me is journaling, because journaling will help me to account for the day. But then I ask the question, what did I learn from this, or what did I find funny? And you keep that consistently, and you'll find that you'll develop a mythology over your life that you can relate to in communication. Great point. Thank you. Yeah. Anything else? Neil?
I was just going to mention that when I was 18 and that I was getting involved in clubs and things, being a chairman, but that experience I had was, what I call it? I forgot it. What's it? Rostrum.
Rostrum, yeah.
Yeah, it was for men, and then they also had the ladies club which was penguin, which I believe is still running. But that was super in getting your confidence up
Mm.
to be able to do that sort of thing. And I think if you are going to be in that position where you might need to do some presentations, that's sort of the way in. Getting help from people who have already done it. It's a great confidence booster to help you do what you do.
Mm.
And I think it's very valuable.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. And organisations like Rostrum and Toastmasters, I call them public speaking gyms.
Yeah.
You need some constant workout. It's not just one thing. It's not just I'm going to come to an event at BusinessSJ and learn about public speaking. You've also got to learn by doing. So that's a fantastic point you make there, Neil. Thank you.
How much time do you spend on rehearsing?
At first, if it's a new presentation, 1 hour for every minute that I present. So for the 20-minute presentation, 20 hours. However, if I've done it again and again, it's more like a refresher. Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's what a lot of people miss is they don't rehearse.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, you'll find that a lot of people will look at a PowerPoint and make their PowerPoint and think, okay, I'm done. Got the content sorted, I'm done. And then when they present, it's like, oh.
They just read it in the PowerPoint.
Exactly. Exactly, yeah. Yeah,
And I think with your question about what did we pick up tonight,
yeah.
something for me that I'll take away
Mm.
is about how the audience feels. I guess I've always thought about that I want the audience, or we want the audience to feel empowered that they can actually do something that's relatively within their grasp.
Yeah.
But to actually sort of think that that's what we are working to achieve.
Mm.
So it just brings, it's like they say, when you bring some focus to things,
Yeah,
then things can happen.
absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for that. Yeah. All right. Doing good time. Okay. I'll conclude on this, guys. So with John, for example, after his presentation, we sat down with him and we reviewed his presentation talk. We nutted out what he did really well and what he didn't do so well, but in terms of what he can do to improve as well. Nothing worse, right? You go to a presentation and you go up to someone and say, oh, great job. Great job. And then you're like, oh, thanks so much. And then you turn around and you're like, what did I do well at? So in terms of what I do, I like to be specific. I like to get specific on what we can do to improve and what you're really good at and what we can do to capitalize on that. So what I run are Speak Up mastermind groups. They run for 2 weeks. So it's not a lot of time commitment, but they run every 2 months. You'll see a little bit of that at the bottom of that sheet. In September and November, I am running a 2-week mastermind. And if you want to present, if you want to find some time to rehearse, this is a great opportunity to do so. You'll get some great feedback from the group. And on the second week you present it again, but with the feedback implemented. That way you know exactly what you're doing well and areas that you can improve on. And it's going to be, yeah, it takes some vulnerability, absolutely. But it can empower you to become a better presenter. So I want to invite you to come along to that. And if you're interested, feel free to head to that website and sign up. If you're from here, I'll also make you a special deal as well. So it's usually $195, but I'll cut that in half for all of you here if you want to sign up to that. Yeah. So guys, I hope it's been helpful. Maybe some bits have been helpful to you. You can be awesome, you can be wow, you can have relief, success, freedom in presenting. Ask those 3 questions, know, feel, and do, and apply Mr. Gap, and don't let your boardrooms become boardrooms.